Hi there, friends. Welcome to my Stampin' Piece studio. If you are watching, please let me know in the comments that you're watching to make sure I am in the right place. I believe I am. I'm still getting used to doing my lives here on YouTube and streaming them from the eCam service. Okay, Tanya, I see you. Can you see and hear me? Okay, people are showing up. Please let me know that you can see and hear me. I'm still getting used to being live on YouTube and using the eCam service for flipping between my face view and my craft view, my hands view. So welcome, Len, Nancy, Joanne, and Tanya. I'm so glad you're here. I've been gone the last several days. I went to Cincinnati on Friday to help a team member host her own Stampin' Up! Retired product garage sale, and I came home from there on Sunday morning, and then I left Sunday afternoon and drove to Oak Harbor, Ohio, near Lake Erie, for the Chirpy Doodle retreat hosted by my dear friend and fellow Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Julie Heights. So I just got home at noon today, freshened up, unpacked my car, although I have not unpacked everything else in my bags and suitcase. But I am happy to be here, and I think you're going to love today's demonstration. At the retreat, I did volunteer to do a card making demonstration for the guests, and it was a 6x6 one-sheet wonder. And what I had prepared, my samples, I had everything pieced and cut, was still sitting on the little table by my back door, where I put it so I wouldn't forget it or lose it amongst all my other stuff. Well, I forgot it, but no worries. I was able to pivot and recreate a one-sheet wonder using some other products for them. But today I thought I would show you all this easy 6x6 one-sheet wonder that you can use to make 3 cards. And with it, I'm going to be using the Autumn Toile designer series paper. So making 3 fall cards for you. And then I'll show you samples of 3 cards I made also using a 6x6 piece of paper, but from a different DSP pack. So you'll get a look at 2. So let's get started right now. Once again, I've changed some settings based on the advice of others to see if I can stop the camera view from moving when it's on my hands. So we'll see. Still working out all the bugs. Anyways, I'm starting with this 6-inch by 6-inch piece of designer series paper from the Autumn Toile pack, which is available right now. This is a directional paper. If you are not using directional paper, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're following along with me, especially if you're using a directional paper, you do want to turn it to the left 1 time so that what was my right side will now be at the top of my cutter. And I'm going to place the edge at 4 1/4 inches and cut that. I'm going to take this 4 1/4 by 6-inch piece, turn it back to the horizontal position. So that's the long side at the top. And I'm going to cut it in half at 3 inches. I'll set these 2 aside. That's for card 1 and 2. And then I have this piece that measures 1 3/4 by 6 inches. And I'm going to cut this down to 5 1/2. Okay, I'm at 5 1/2. So in other words, I'm cutting off a 1/2 inch from the right end. Okay, and I'm going to use these 3 pieces to make need this for one more thing, to make 3 different cards. Before I pull out my card bases and all the other pieces, I do want to mention I'm using 3 colors of cardstock. The card bases are all Cajun Craze. I have a little bit of Early Espresso. And then the 3rd color cardstock I'm using is Mossy Meadow. And of course, you would just pick 3 colors of cardstock that coordinate with the designer series paper that you're using. This is one of the beautiful things about using One Sheet Wonders and card sketches. You can use any products that you have, any papers, any colors of cardstock and ink, any stamp sets. It just gives you the basics, and then you add whatever products you would like. So for my first card, and let me put these over here. I'm using the bottom left corner of that piece I cut for my first card, and I'm going to adhere it to my, I'm going to use this. I'm going to adhere it to my Cajun Craze card base. I decided I'm using that multi-purpose glue because I want to be able to slide this triangle around a bit. It's not every day I'm using triangles on my cards, so this way if I needed to slide it around for equal spacing on the left and bottom sides, I can do that. Then I'm going to take one of those 3-inch by 4 1/4 inch pieces of DSP that I cut from that 6x6 One Sheet Wonder, and I'll adhere this to a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. Okay, 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. And I will add some dimensionals to that. Get rid of that shadow. Colette, I'm glad you caught me live too. How nice it is to see you and all the others who are joining me today. And remember, if you can't catch the live demonstrations, you can always rewatch or watch the replays on right here on my YouTube channel, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. And it's very easy to get there. If you can't remember Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe on YouTube, you can do stampinpeace.com/YouTube, and it'll take you right to my channel. Now, what I've done here is used and I have to think about what, let me see. Yes, this is the stamp set I used for the sentiment with the leaf behind it today. Today is, excuse me, I've been gone 4 days and I think I'm losing my voice. I guess that means I had a really good time with girlfriends, making new friends, etc. But what I wanted to tell you about this is I stamped the leaf in a light shade of the Mossy Meadow, so you can stamp off onto scrap paper and then onto your cardstock. And then I stamped the greeting over it in Early Espresso so that it's still easy to read that sentiment. Okay. And if you are watching today on September 18th, Stampin' Up! Has 15% off its stamp sets, just stamp sets, not bundles, but 15% off stamp sets, and also some stamp tools like, trying to think, clear blocks, the Stampin' Pierce mat. What else is on there? Stays on cleaner, Simply Chamois, the Stampin' Scrub, things that you would clean your stamps with. So 15% off all stamp sets, and then 15% off some select stamp tools. All right, so you can check that out, stampinpeace.com/shopsu, and that'll take you to my site. Now for the second card, I'm going to use that other triangle. And you can put it either direction. You can do the same as the first card. I'm changing it up though, and I want mine in the upper right corner. But there's no right or wrong. You decide where you want your triangles to go. I just wanted to show you a couple different things here. And here you want those two shorter sides of the triangle to have equal spacing of the Cajun Craze cardstock showing. And then for this card, this is going to be kind of a card within a card, and I'll show you a trick for this at the end as well. Now you want a piece of cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 9 inches. You're going to score it in the middle at 4 1/2. So 3 1/4 by 9 inches, and you're going to score at 4 1/2 on the long side. And then you're going to attach it to your card front. And the easiest way to attach this, since it is a mini card base, hold it closed when you're adding your adhesive and attaching it to the card, the big card base, big card front. Okay. And then that other piece of 3 inch by 4 1/4 inch DSP cut from the One Sheet Wonder, you're going to attach to the front. So here we're using that second piece of 3 by 4 1/4 inch DSP. So here the layouts are very similar. I flip the triangles, that's it. Otherwise, from the front, they look exactly the same. But I can change it up by placing my sentiment in the center instead of the corner or a corner. You can put it anywhere you want. And where you place your sentiment might depend on the DSP itself or the size of your sentiment. So play around with your sentiment where you might give yourself some different options of where you might place that. Okay, so this is still a regular size card base, but you also have this. Okay, what I want to tell you about this is on the inside, you could stamp an image, you could stamp another sentiment, and then write your note on the inside. But here, you can also make this outside part, this mini card base, a gift card holder. And that's very easy to do. And what I'm going to do to show you that is cut a piece of, I thought I had a scrap. Let me grab it. I'm just going to cut a scrap, and I want it to be the same width as my vanilla cardstock here. So it's going to be 3 inches, and I would say maybe 1 3/4, maybe up to 2 inches. It doesn't have to be real specific. So I'm just going to do, let's do 1 3/4 because it is a rather small mini card base. So I did 3 by 1 3/4. I'm going to add, oops, before I do that, and this part, punching a notch isn't absolutely necessary, but if you want to, take any of your punches and just cut out a small notch. It doesn't even have to be a circle, but just some kind of small notch there. Makes it a little bit easier to see that you pull out the postcard, or you could put in another mini note, secret note, something like that, love note, whatever. And then I'm going to add just a very, very, very narrow line of glue on the left, right, and bottom sides of this. And that will form the pocket then. And you'll be able to tuck a gift card right in there. This is how I like to use this. And then still have room to write a note inside. Okay, so that's card number 2. Now let's take our last 2 pieces of DSP, 5.5 by 1 3/4, and then a 1/2 inch by 1 3/4, and make a card with those. So this piece of 1 3/4 inch, I'm adding to a piece of cardstock that measures 5.5 by 2 inches. Okay, 5.5 by 2 inches. And, or maybe it's 2 1/4. This one's 2 1/4. 5.5 by 2 1/4. But you can vary the height of these layers. I'm actually going to use 2 layers behind my DSP strip. So again, the DSP strip is 5.5 by 1 3/4. My Mossy Meadow cardstock is 5.5 by 2 1/4. And then I'm going to add the layers to a piece of Early Espresso cardstock, which measures 5.5 by 2.5. Okay, 5.5 by 2.5. And when I add the replay to my blog, stampinpeace.com, I will list all of the dimensions for you. So you can either rewatch and catch all the dimensions if you weren't writing them down, or I will have them for you. I have my Cajun Craze card base. So all the dimensions are in this video, but I will also post them to stampinpeace.com, where my blog is. And for this, you can decide too, where do you want these layers? Do you want them near the bottom? Do you want them near the top? In the middle? Let yourself be creative, kind of let your creative juices flow. You don't ever have to feel like you have to make your cards exactly like mine. If you do, great. I'm honored. But if you want to put your own twist on them, by all means, please do. And please, I hope you feel that way with any demonstration you watch. Okay, we watch demonstrations to get ideas, to learn things from others, but you should never feel pressured to do things exactly the same way. You may or may not have the same products that I'm using or another demonstrator is using, but I know for a fact, I 100% am sure that you all have plenty of designer series paper and cardstock and stamps that you can use, which is awesome. Okay, there we go, floating again. I thought I got through this, but here it goes just a little bit, not as much. And we're back. Okay, so let's add a sentiment. Notice for these cards, I'm adding the same sentiment for each of them. And you can do that, or you can change them up any way you like. I think I'll put it about here. And you know, when I do my one sheet wonders, whether it be a 6 by 6 or a 12 by 12 inch, I like to use every bit of that DSP. So what I'm going to do is simply snip this piece of, it's a 1/2 inch by 1 3/4 inch DSP, cut from the one sheet wonder, and I'm simply going to make these little banner pieces. And do you notice one or the other was going to, if I was using it this way, one or the other was going to end up upside down, either the upside down pumpkin or the upside down acorns. But when I put them together, you don't even notice that one of those is upside down, whichever one you choose. So don't worry about that. You can also use the back side of your DSP. I'm going to tuck that in there, and just a little dot of glue will do it. And I'll put the second piece on. I like them to overlap a little bit, but spread them out so I can see each of those angled ends, okay? And I'll leave it like that. And then I think I should add some embellishments to each of these 3 cards. Now on my samples, I used the metallic faceted gems in gold. Okay. For these cards, I like to experiment with different embellishments. So for these, I'm actually going to be using the antique pearls. Okay, antique pearls. And what I like about these, they do kind of have a greenish, oh, there it goes. There is kind of a greenish hue to these pearls, but they also pick up other colors like the orange of the Cajun craze. Okay. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool. I'm going to start with card number 3. I'll put one here. So there's a medium, a small, and a small. These come in 3 sizes, large, medium, and small, all in the same pack. And then on card number 1, I'm going to use, let me see, I think I'm going to use the 3 large. And I'm simply going to place the embellishments in a little row of 3. So here I'm giving you some different ways, different ideas for placing embellishments. Sometimes we kind of get stuck in our usual pattern of doing things. So here you get some different ideas. And then lastly, I'm going to do another row of 3, but this time I'm going to add them at the bottom right corner of card number 2. Sometimes I even get stuck using the same size. I'm often doing placing my sentiments like I did for this 3rd card, or not sentiments, placing my embellishments like I did on this 3rd card, and maybe using more than one size. So sometimes I like to play around with the different sizes of embellishments and different placements of them. So what do you think? We have gone from a 6x6 designer series piece of designer series paper. This happens to be Autumn 12, but you can use anything you have, any of your favorite papers for any season or occasion, and then made 3 cards. Here's card number 1. Okay. Card number 2 does have a full card base, but it's also got that mini card base that I chose to use for use as a gift card holder. Great to think about this time of year with the holidays coming up. You might also have somebody that has a birthday or simply want to send a gift card just because, maybe to a college student or as a thank you. And then here's my 3rd card. So what do you think? I hope you're thinking to yourself, oh, Mary, that was really easy. That 6x6 one-sheet wonder is very easy. I want you to be able to use it again and make some of cards of your own using your favorite designer series papers. Don't forget, if you are watching this video today on September 18th, you may want to check out Stampin' Up's 15% off sale. It's one day only, September 18th, 2025 only, and the sale ends at midnight Mountain Time. It is 15% off all stamp sets and select stamp tools, including the Stampin' Pierce mat, the large grid paper, clear blocks, Simply Chamois, Stampin' Scrub, Stampin' Mist. I believe StazOn ink cleaner is on there as well. So you can check out the 15% off sale by going to stampinpiece.com/shopsu. Alrighty? I look forward to sharing more creative inspiration with you. And I hope when you use this One Sheet Wonder and the card sketches that you will share what you made with it. I think it's fun not only for you to see what I make, but for me and everyone else to be able to see what you make as well. And you can share those things on my Facebook page, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thanks so much for watching either live or watching the replay afterwards. I appreciate you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.